webinar has started. Okay, now I'm going to assume there's going to be a little buffer where the internet kicks in, right? There's our buffer. We good? Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Skeptical Inquirer Presents. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being a part of this. Skeptical Inquirer Presents, for those who do not know, is a series of live online presentations from experts who are devoted to advancing science over pseudoscience, media literacy over conspiracy theories, and critical thinking over magical thinking. I am not Leanne Lord, your usual host for these very informative evenings. I am instead Paul Fidalgo. I'm the communications director of the Center for Inquiry, the organization which hosts all of this wonderful content. I am also the host of the weekly Heresy Now podcast and the creator of the Morning Heresy News Roundup. Leanne was unable to do this particular presentation tonight, and so you are stuck with me. Now, I should say, Leanne usually starts these events every time she does one by letting us know whatever notable date of observance today might be on the calendar. So I went and I found some myself, like, there's usually like a National Ice Cream Day or whatever it is. So I found a couple for you here, okay? So it is February 3rd. It is the day the music died. This is the anniversary of the day that Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, JP Richardson, aka the Big Bopper, and their pilot Roger Peterson died in a plane crash in 1959. That was a bad choice. Weirdly, it's also National Optimist Day. So let's go with that one. National Optimist Day. Okay. Anyhow, very quickly, I'm going to tell you a few things about what's going on here at the Center for Inquiry, and then we're going to move it along. Don't forget, we've got our flagship podcast, Point of Inquiry, which you can find at pointofinquiry.org. Latest episode has New York Times science journalist Carl Zimmer talking about what it means to be alive. That sounds important. We've got your Skeptical Inquirer magazine, From Russia's Stalin to Climate Change, the Irrational World of Motivated Reasoning. You're going to want to check that out. It's a really fascinating issue and a really fascinating article. You can get that in print and digital at skepticalinquirer.org. All right, that's all the promotion. Okay, it's all the promotion. Okay. Here's what's going to happen right now. You, the audience, sit back, enjoy tonight's presentation, become smarter, become a better person as a result. That's all just going to happen. And if you have questions throughout the evening, you can pop them into the little Q&A box there, and we will look at them behind the scenes. Please make sure you're asking questions and not personal essays, and we'll get to as many as we can. Tonight's guest, Susan Gerbic. She's an American studio photographer who became known as a scientific skepticism activist, a prolific columnist for Skeptical Inquirer. She's co-founder of Monterey County Skeptics and a fellow of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. In 2010, Gerbic founded Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, a group of editors who create and improve Wikipedia articles that reflect scientific skepticism. And now, wait a minute, I'm sorry, this is strange. I'm getting a feeling. I'm getting this, it's a sense from beyond. I feel like it's about, there's like an event happening. Are you getting that? Are you feeling that too? Like we're gonna honor something. Does anybody else feeling that we're gonna honor something right now? It's like a present. It's an award. That's right, there's an award. It's an award for, what is it? It's like doubt. Do you feeling that? I'm getting, there's a message I'm getting. It's doubt, it's skepticism, right? It's an award for skepticism. Okay, I think I know what's happening. You see, there's a funny thing happening here. Every year, the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, a program of the Center for Inquiry and publisher of Skeptical Inquirer magazine, honors the creators of the published work that best communicate the importance of skepticism and empirical science with the Ballas Prize in critical thinking. Now, normally, the award is presented at our annual SciCon conference, but because of the pandemic, the conferences for 2020 and 2021 had to be canceled, and the prizes for 2019 and 2020 have yet to be awarded. So, oh my gosh, I'm getting another message, another message from beyond, a feeling. It's a new reality, something that hasn't been said in this lifetime. It's been kept quiet for so long, and the spirits really want this to be revealed. They're telling me that rather than wait another year, the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry is taking this opportunity now to proudly announce the winner of the Ballas Prize in Critical Thinking for 2019. That's from so long ago. It could only have come from the great beyond. So enough of that. Here's the real story, okay? We're all sick of being duped. And one of the hardest lessons of the COVID-19 pandemic is that our culture is saturated with con artists and snake oil hucksters, all insisting they have this special access to truths, claiming knowledge of vast conspiracies or cures or remedies, and some like to pretend that they can read your mind or talk to the dead. Well, for far too long, this group of charlatans, psychics, mediums have enjoyed very credulous coverage of and precious little scrutiny of their scams, fawned over by talk show hosts and the victims they fleeced. But in recent years, these grief vampires have met their match. Tonight's guest, Susan Gerbic, is a fake psychic's worst nightmare that they never saw coming. Over the course of dozens of meticulously executed stings, tests, and exposés, which I'm sure you will be hearing about, she's uncovered the fraud underlying the claims of several celebrity psychics. She's assembled a team of dedicated volunteers who assist her in planning these elaborate and rigorous undercover operations that reveal the tricks employed by psychics and mediums. She's thoroughly documented it all at Skeptical Inquirer. She's shown compelling accounts of skeptical investigation, digital sleuthing, real-world spycraft, and slap-your-forehead moments of revelation. Her work in exposing the lies of the Manhattan medium seatbelt psychic Thomas John caught the attention of the New York Times, which published a magazine profile of the escapades of Susan and her team in the article Inside the Secret Sting Operations to Expose Celebrity Psychics, written by Jack Hitt. The world is ready for stories such as this, Susan wrote back then. People are sick of reality television and lying cheats getting away without consequences. And now, in the age of COVID misinformation and QAnon conspiracy madness, her words ring even more true. So you could say that her diagnosis of American attitudes toward fraudsters was prophetic, but we can't prove it. What we can do is award her the 2019 Ballas Prize in Critical Thinking. Congratulations, Susan Gerbic.
Wow. This is Barry's doing, isn't it? Oh,
that's
wow.
Right. That's right. She didn't know, folks. She had no idea we were going to do this to her. And I believe we have the award, yes? Do we have the award there?
Right here.
Nudge, nudge. And here we go. Skeptic activist and mentalist Mark Edward is ready to present the Ballas Prize in Critical Thinking.
Wow.
To Susan Gerbic.
I had no idea.
So here I am.
There it is.
Hi, gang.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, Mr. Edward.
Hi.
New fellow, new
I can't
CSI
think
fellow.
of anybody who deserves this more. Susan is a tireless worker. She never gives up once she gets her teeth into things. And as you may know, she's wonderful.
Couldn't agree
So
more.
here's what I'm going to do is unwrap this baby because it is heavy. Very.
Oh yeah, I can tell you from experience. These things
pull
are
it out of
weighty.
the hat, but I'm not going to be doing that.
I'm
Here, do you want
shocked
me to
that
take the thing off?
I'm
of it?
shocked that anybody
Here, you go
that you were
ahead.
able. Oh, geez, the people were able to keep anything from me
Careful,
like
don't
this.
let it fall over. It's really-
Yeah, you are quite the sleuth. So keeping a secret from you is not the easiest thing in the world.
Oh my
Look at that
gosh.
thing.
Oh, geez, this is like a weapon for
I
a
was
murder
gonna
weapon.
say a murder weapon.
That's probably
Oh
part of the
my
thinking.
gosh! Oh my
Yay,
gosh!
Yeah.
Susan! Yay!
Investigators
winner
say,
of
oh
the
my! It
award.
says Robert E. Balls Award Balls BALLES
Ballas.
Hey, you pronounce it. any way you
Award
want to.
in Critical Thinking. Susan Gerbic, Investigation of Psychics, 2019. Oh my! And now I'm supposed to
Congratulations.
do a talk.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So I really wanted to set you up, as really be ready to go full steam ahead. Not at all
Wow.
discombobulated. Yeah.
Wow!
So there
Do I
you
have to
So-
hold it like this?
You do. You have to hold it the whole time, by the way, with one hand if you can. So with that,
Okay. Well, thank
big
you
giant
so much.
surprise. You're
That's-
welcome. And as Leanne always says, by the way, this is very important. I have to do it this way. As Leanne says before every talk, Susan, you have the con.
Okay. So I assume that you can see my slides now. Yes. That was weird. Oh, restart the screen share. Okay, so I will talk as I'm restarting the screen share as we go. All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm really shocked that Mark was able to keep that from me this whole time.
Keep a lot of things from me.
Oh, he says he keeps a lot of things from me. Okay. So now I hope you can see my slides, because that would be really embarrassing if you can't. So you can, right? Please tell me you can. Let me start my. So when I was asked to do this talk, I had no idea this was going to happen. Barry Carr, that's the Psychon, the guru of Psychon. He said, Susan, can you catch us up on what you've been doing the last couple of years? And I said, well, yeah, I guess I can. So I told him that I really didn't want to have to go into depth about who I was and what I've been doing and so on past this pandemic time, because it just seemed like you can follow this if you've been kind of following me along, and it would take too long. I mean, I only have like 30-40 minutes, so I really don't have time to go into depth about a lot of different things. But what I'm going to talk about today, see if I can get my mind focused now on the lecture after that wonderful surprise. What I really want to focus on today is what we've been doing the last couple of years since the pandemic really started. But more than that, I want us to really think about our most valuable resource in our community. That is people. That's everybody. It's you guys that I'm talking to right there. And I wish I could see your smiling faces on the screen, but you're not there. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm talking to some of my closest friends, which are probably part of this community, even whether I know you or not. It's important to me that we are a community, and we rebuild our community and make it stronger and use our most important assets, which are the people who are in this group. So I'm going to start off with one of the wings of our group, which is about time, and that's the Guerrilla Skeptics. And the Guerrilla Skeptics is kind of a loose group of people since 2013 who have been assisting myself and Mark Edward in learning more about the psychic world and following around and investigating those people who claim to be able to speak to the dead. Now, we call them Greek vampires. That's a term that Mark Edward invented a long time ago. And it's really for people who are latching themselves on to vulnerable, desperate people, whether they're at a point in their life where they have a missing child or they have a health crisis in their life, but for whatever reason, they reach out to these psychic mediums, probably because it's a family thing, a cultural thing, that was just kind of like a duh. Of course, the dead can communicate with us. But this is a loose group of people who've changed over time. There's different people who've come and gone. Sometimes we use people who are in a certain location at a certain time so that we can be able to use them for a particular sting, like we did with the Las Vegas Skeptics, where they were able to go in to see Thomas John in person and Caesars in Las Vegas, or Kenny Biddle and his friends that went to go see Matt Frazier in Philadelphia, I believe it was, back in Operation Peach Pit. So, different people are used in different ways, and they come and go depending on what their need is. But since the pandemic, we've more or less had the same core group of people who are watching and the social media of the different psychics, following them around as, seeing what they're putting out on their live Facebook feeds and so on. So that's what I want to cover first, is just a brief synopsis of what we've been doing for the pandemic during that time. So here is what we got. So the first things we did, now this is kind of just like everything's going to be on my website. You can see that when we're all done, all the different things that we've been doing. all the links. So the first thing I did, and I don't even know if I have these all in order, but on the left-hand side, you can see this is an article that I wrote because Mark Edward and I hear this constantly from people. There's no way the psychic could have known. And there's so many ways the psychic could have known, including just guessing and playing the odds. But this article on the left, it's printed in Skeptical Inquirer, does show all the different, like it has all the different ways that a psychic could know. And I give a lot of examples. And just as you guys are watching me and you're looking at my background here, you can see around me, you can see and pick out things behind me that make you, that you could possibly do a cold reading or a heart reading on to be able to know something about me. And so that article is there. There's no way the psychic could have known. On the right-hand side, you'll see an article I did with a woman who reached out, who is a psychic. She says she's a psychic and talks to the dead. So she's a medium. And she said, if I only had gotten a good reading from somebody who's a legitimate psychic, then of course I would throw away my skeptic, get rid of all that. And I would just be a believer like she is, because she was going to prove it to me. And she wanted to give me a reading. And she says, I don't do social media or any of that. So I don't, I couldn't possibly hot read you. And I said, well, okay, I'll do this, but you're going to have to do it on Facebook Live. And she says, I don't use Facebook. And I said, fine, I will do Facebook Live, and I will just call you on the phone and we'll put you on speakerphone. And that's what we did. This is back, oh gosh, this is at the beginning of the pandemic. It seems like dates, who knows now. But anyway, I recorded her live on Facebook, and you can see the whole video, which is about 2 hours. You can see it in its entirety, and the whole evolution of how she worded things. It's a fantastic example of how somebody is a true believer. She really seems to believe, and how badly she failed. I insisted on it being on Facebook Live for the reasons, because if she was real and if she had these amazing powers, I wanted everybody to be able to see it uncut, so that there would be no problem with anybody thinking I edited out or anything. So another thing I did is that I went to all the famous psychics I could find social media, and I went through their accounts and I looked to see how many predicted the COVID, or how many people made a comment about COVID, coming up, or anything. I was looking for anything that showed that they had any anticipation that there was going to be this worldwide lockdown, millions of people dead. And I made screenshots and I archived all their websites, and I didn't find a single person. I'm really shocked. But what I did is I just made this one article with all the screenshots in it to show that not only did they not predict it, but they continued having events through the pandemic. Like they planned in advance that they were going to be having an event on months that obviously it ended up being canceled. And here on the left, you can see Teresa Caputo, and she had to cancel her events. I think, now that I think about it, I think Teresa Caputo not only canceled her events, but she rescheduled them and then had to cancel those. And on the right-hand side, you can see John Edward, he goes to Australia 1 or 2 times a year, and he has a lot of events over there. Well, he had to cancel his whole event. How he didn't know that, I don't know, but maybe they're not psychic. On the left-hand side here, you can see, I think this is Teresa Caputo again, and she's showing that it was canceled, one of her events. And on the right-hand side, there's Thomas John, who was appearing at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. He had a live show, and I have a lot of articles about that. But because we went in and attended. Well, I didn't, but people did, and they recorded, and talked to people and so on. But we have a screenshot of him telling people how he was going to be at Caesar's Palace indefinitely. And so he was trying to get people to book their tickets for the upcoming shows in June and July of 2020. And as you can see, they're all canceled. And not only that, but he's not coming back. It doesn't look like they're letting him come back. At the top here, you can see this is Tyler Henry, Hollywood medium. And he canceled his show, obviously, and went on. And he's going to let us know when they're going to be able to do live shows again, because of course they couldn't give it to us in advance. And this bottom is Suzanne Northrup, same thing. They're canceling the shows. We were looking at people who were going on vacation and had their vacation canceled and so on. You would think they would have noticed that the pandemic was coming. So this was kind of fun. I was approached by a Facebook group that has been trying to expose this one Facebook psychic. His name is James Higgins. He's in the UK. And when I asked Barry Carr if I could do an article about him, do some research on it, Barry's like, why? He's just one of 1,000 psychics out there. And I said, yeah, I know, but he just seems to have some elements that are a little different from some of the other ones. And I posted on their Facebook feed of this group that is trying to, get him stopped, take his Facebook page down and so on. And I posted saying something like, I'm going to do an article on this guy. I think I need some screenshots. Does anybody get some great screenshots of him saying this or whatever? And I immediately got a message in my inbox on Facebook saying that he was going to sue me if I did an article on him. So I reached out to Barry Carr. I said, well, he's planning on suing me if I do an article. And Barry said, well, I guess you got to do an article on him now. So I did. And that was kind of interesting. He's still around and they're doing their best to get him off of Facebook. So Thomas John, we investigated him so many times, but he just keeps making it so easy for us. And it's so interesting to watch. We're in a pandemic, right? And we have time. And one of the things we noticed is that he does a lot of looking down to the right-hand corner of his screen when he's giving a reading to somebody, and then immediately saying something like, hey, who's Steve? Or, what does Idaho have to do with this? Or, he makes some giant pronouncement. And right before it, he's kind of like hemming and hawing about stuff and kind of like stalling and takes a look down, looks down. So we made a whole bunch of a video, and we didn't put it together in a video. That'd be kind of fun if somebody would do it, just a clip of him looking down. But I'm going to show you this one because I think it's kind of funny of him. Now watch him. This is kind of it's like 30 seconds or something, but check this out. This is pretty fun.
I do feel, and I'm getting a little sense of your dad. So again, we'll see where that goes and stuff. I feel like I'd probably be able to give you at least some validation. I mean, they're telling me that would be very helpful for you. So I would like to be able to do that. I'm just kind of in that more psychic mind. I definitely feel the last couple years for you have been really challenging. And I feel like they're telling me that just things have been very, very challenging. Hold on.
Yes.
Kyle, do you know John in spirit?
Yeah, that's my dad. Okay.
Oh, I love that clip. It's up on my YouTube channel. Let's see if we can get past this little screen here. It's just, I'm just in that psychic mode and all, and what's located down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen is Facebook Messenger, right? So we think we know what's happening there. And I think it's a kind of a fun thing, but that's something we're able to do. Another thing, because psychics weren't able to attend events, right? They can't do their in-person events anymore during the pandemic. So they're all on Zoom, and they will have an event with $20 a person or so with 300 people, 5 or so, maybe 8 people get a reading. We call this Operation Onion Lemon Meringue, where we went and investigated all the different Thomas John and his friends, because he'll do these events with different other psychics who are healers, or they wave their hand to the Zoom's webcam and they're able to tell if you have cirrhosis of the liver or whatever. And so we did a nice investigation of that. These are all on the website. They're all in this collection of Operation Lemon Meringue. This was also fun. Oh my gosh, it was so tedious. The team of people who did this with me, I think it was a nice cold rainy day here where I live in California. And so Thomas John had this show called Seatbelt Psychic. And people get into the back seat of the car and they drive around. And while they're driving to their destination, they're read. He gives them a reading about their dead person, and they cry and they laugh and all these things. So what we did, I don't even know where it came in my mind to think that we should try this, but what we did is we took a bunch of his YouTube videos of Seatbelt Psychic. Now he claims, and the show claims, that he's like a Uber or Lyft driver, right? Okay, well, we know that's not true. And the reason why we know it's not true is because of, well, he never asks anybody where they're going. He doesn't get their destination. The camera's flooded. There's cameras all over the car. Even outside of the camera, you can see people walking up. And I talked to a man who had been in the backseat of this, and he told us that he had filled out paperwork beforehand because he thought he was going to go on a game show. He shows up at this one place. They have a table set up. You fill out more paperwork. You wait. Here comes the car. You get in the car, and there's cameras everywhere facing right at you as you're sitting in the car. And he thought he was going to go to some kind of game show, talk show kind of place. And then they drive around, and it's an hour. A lot of tears because he's Thomas John is talking to your dead family members. And then you get out, and there's other people waiting. And then they interview you with more cameras, and other people wait. And then they get in the car and they do this whole thing again. So what we did is we got the videos, we turned off the audio so we could just see what's going on. And we made screenshots as looking through the window, and you could see the window of the passenger. The passenger is always sitting on the left side of the car as you're looking through the windshield. And they're always there because it's a perfect camera angle. And so we can see that in the case of these three women, they're being picked up at the same location. And we can map that out. We can see the name of the place, and we can see they're all being picked up in the same place. And if you look through Thomas John's window, you can see, as example here, where you can see this movie theater in Hollywood. I think it's North Hollywood, yeah. And you can see he's wearing different clothes, and he's at the same background because he's in a loop. And as we did more and more of these videos and more of these screenshots, we can see that he's in a giant loop, and he's only on the right lane, the side closest to the sidewalk, and he's only making right turns. It's probably for insurance reasons because he's not a professional driver, but he's driving around these people. And the same thing for the drop-off locations. We could map out where the drop-off locations are. As you can see here, there's Kaiser in the background in North Hollywood, and this and so on. So that was a really interesting investigation. Okay, so let's move continents. This is Jeanette Wilson. The New Zealand Skeptics had attended some of her live in-person shows. And what they discovered is that she's not a healer herself. She channels doctors that have died. And those doctors who are dead will tell you what's wrong with you. So she herself isn't the healer because God is the ultimate healer. She's just here to facilitate it. So one of the things they notice is that she has a lot of anti-vaccine and anti-5G, anti-mammogram kind of stance. And that wasn't making it to the videos that she would upload to YouTube. So what we tried is we attended her webinar, and during the Q&A part, I said, I'm here in America, and that we have over 100,000 people dead here in America. Tells you how long ago that was. And that, we're really worried about COVID. What do you see for the future? And she went on a 19-minute rant against vaccines about how it's going to just go away, how she didn't say she was selling a supplement, but she would hook us up with somebody who's selling a supplement that would coat your lungs and protect you against COVID, and on and on. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And so it's all recorded. And what we found, talking to the New Zealand skeptics who attended in person, was that her husband was running the camera. And then when she would go into this anti-vaccine mode, he'd turn off the camera and then turn it back on when she got back to the ghost orbs part of her spiel or whatever she was doing. So when the event was done and I had a video, we approached a New Zealand reporter for the spinoff, and we gave him the video, and he interviewed her, and he asked her about her anti-vaccine views and so on, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I would never be that person or whatever. And he says, I just watched your video of you doing this. And she's like, what video? So I had to take my video down, but that's all right. It was already done. And he was able to write this article for the spinoff. This is a popular news site for in New Zealand, and it talks about her diet supplements and so on. So that was really interesting. And a few months after this story ran, she decided she was going to run for I probably should have paid more attention with the Prime Minister and the House of Representatives, or whatever it is in New Zealand, where she would be able to challenge Jacinda, the person in charge of New Zealand, the government there. And she was going to run for that office. And she just went into this, it was a conspiracy theory laden, just rants and so on. But what ended up happening is she had a 22-hour career. So possibly because the information we had put out might have hurried along her career as running for office in New Zealand. So that was quite interesting too. That was at the beginning. So now these people this is a screenshot from one of the many events we attended with the Operation Lemon Meringue. I've distorted their faces and removed their names, of course, but it gives you a feel for what it's like. And there'll be multiple screens like this. Maybe 300 people are attending one of these events. And they're almost all women, by the way. I'm not quite sure why, but that is what we found throughout this whole 2 years of just looking at Zoom screens. And it's one thing when it's adults attending an event. It's totally another thing when it's an event for children. So this was our last sting that we've done, and hopefully it'll be the last sting for a while. It's we called it Operation Onion Ring, and what he was doing is a 8-person spirit group for children ages 5 to 12. And you can read all about that on Skeptical Inquirer, Operation Onion Ring. And I also just did a talk for the Commonwealth Club, and that video is out now too. You can find it on my website, or just Google Operation Onion Ring Commonwealth, and you'll come up with that video, and that goes into some depth about that. But here's the article you can find on Skeptical Inquirer and what happens. I have a lot of detail about what the readings were like and the twist or so of what happened afterwards. So that was quite interesting. So I'm going to just briefly talk about the Guerrilla Skeptics, which is the Wikipedia wing of our organization. We are on a mission to improve all the Wikipedia pages in all languages that concern science, scientific skepticism, claims of the paranormal. And of course, we work on all kinds of things other than that, as people are interested. We don't have a to-do list or anything like that. But the Guerrilla Skeptics it's a training group. So we're unique because we not only focus on languages other than English, but we're also training people, because I felt when I learned how to edit Wikipedia years ago that it was kind of a text heavy coding kind of thing. And what we do is when we train people how to be editors using visual screenshots and hands-on, and we work with people over Zoom. We do have a secret cabal located on Facebook, and it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 months to train to be one of our editors. But of course, we're just regular editors. We just are trained. Whereas if you become an editor on Wikipedia, which of course anybody can do, they're not necessarily going to go through a training program or have the support of having people to give feedback to and so on. So the Wikipedia team, we made thousands of edits. We've been doing this for a little over a decade now, but we track the pages that we have completely written from scratch. And none of our pages are stubs. We never write stubs. We rewrite stubs. So we keep track of how many Wikipedia pages we've written. And so far, We've written 1,972 Wikipedia pages. So we're getting really close to hitting 2,000 Wikipedia pages that we completely created or rewrote. And when I say we, it's not our page, it's Wikipedia's page. Once we make it live, obviously anybody can edit it and make whatever improvements or changes that are needed to it. But this is kind of a way of keeping track of, you know, kind of the effect we have. So those 1,972 Wikipedia pages have been viewed just over 106 million times. So we're really close to hitting 107 million page views. So please go and look at some of the pages we've done. You can find them sometimes on Facebook and just read them a whole bunch of times so we can get that 700,000, 107 million page views. And you can see here how we've done for the last 7 days and the last 30 days. And that's kind of a nice little thing. Another thing that I've been working on is I have a local group, Monterey County Skeptics, located in beautiful California. And I think I started this in 2007, and everybody needs their own local group, right? Because you need a place where you can go and feel like, you know, you can share a beer with, because we can't all have SciCon every week, right? So this is a nice little way of having a social. Once a month, we would hang out, we'd go to movies together, or, you know, somebody'd say, hey, let's go have pizza, and we'd go have pizza. So we still meet up. I highly encourage anybody that's interested in starting a local group. Don't wait until somebody else makes it. Just go ahead and do it yourself. And you can reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about it. But Monterey County Skeptics really doesn't do much other than socializing, except we do a SkeptiCamp once a year in January. And I think we started in 2015. And it's usually the first or second Saturday in January. And we've had 2 virtual events now because of the pandemic. And you can find all our videos on our YouTube channel. That's the About Time channel that I'll put up at the end. And you can see all the talks that people have given, and it's all in little chunks so that you can watch it. Or you can put on the whole video of the whole event for the whole 8 hours and watch it like on one long drive if you want. This is the videos for 2022, which just came out. We just had our SkeptiCamp, and we see a lot of really great speakers. And SkeptiCamp, especially virtual, is not really that hard to do. And if you need help and you want to do something like this, please reach out. I'll be happy to help you, give you all the wisdom, all the mistakes I've made over the years. It's a lot of fun to put these on, and it highlights people who haven't necessarily had a chance to be able to give talks on a main stage like a SciCon. This is kind of like a Sunday's paper, which is an element of SciCon. The Sunday papers is 15-20-minute talks that are given by people, like a paper presentation. And the topics are always so unique from each other, and they're a lot of fun to do too. So local talks, there's a few other places, the organizations, New York City Skeptics, and one in Calgary, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. They do a lot of different places do these SkeptiCamps. I think they should be everywhere. Another thing we've been doing, and this is just kind of like a fluke, like anything else I seem to do, it doesn't mean, I don't mean it to turn into a thing. It just kind of happens. And we started doing trivia. Well, we were attending trivia in Monterey, and I'm really awful at trivia, and it was a lot of sports and stuff like that. I don't know. So when the pandemic hit and we were really worried, we just tried to really stay at home and do a Zoom call. So I kind of put together a Zoom trivia, and it's social trivia. It's about 40, 50 people who kind of come and go, and most of them are in the skeptic community. And it's been a blast that they get to know each other. So on a regular Thursday night, it's about 30 people. Some from the East Coast will stay up late. So after this is over, about 3 hours after this is over, we're going to start SkeptiCamp. I'm not SkeptiCamp, social trivia. And if you guys want to join, you'll find the link on my Facebook page. And tonight will be our 91st. We've never missed a Thursday night. In fact, we've had them on Thanksgiving night, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day. It's a blast. You don't need to know trivia. I put you guys in these little small groups of maybe 5 or 6 people, and you just talk, you get to know each other. And I put you in kind of randomly, and next week you'll have another group of people, and it's a lot of fun. It's really social, and it's a lot of fun. The people who've been coming to these things are just, they're great. And it's so cool to see people know each other from all over the place, you know. So I'm almost done. This is the last slide in my presentation about Time Project, but I have one more thing I want to say that's not part of this. But if you want to take a quick a screenshot of this, or come back to the video, because this will be put up on tomorrow on YouTube, so you can get this video. What I wanted to say, you know, forgetting this probably is really cool. You know, I really want to thank everybody for giving me a chance to give this talk today. You guys really got to check out Paul Fidalgo's Hearsay Now. It's hilarious. His podcast that just came out, and he does the best impressions. When he does his impression of Prince Charles, you guys, he could go into comedy himself. He's great. Okay, here's what I wanted to say. So think back. This lecture is supposed to be about herding cats, right? So all the things that I've talked about, the Wikipedia project, the psychic stuff, the Monterey County stuff, yes, it is important to sting these psychics and write about it. It's important to have local meetups and SkeptiCamps. It's important to have, you know, virtual as well as in-person events and Wikipedia pages. Oh my gosh, that is so important to get those in order and get the vandalism off them and get them really well written. But my motive has been, and it always has been, our most valuable resource. The focus is on people like yourselves out there who are watching right now. People I find are actually very kind and very, they're just wonderful to they want to do stuff, but they don't know how, they don't know who, they don't necessarily have the mentorship if somebody just suggests how to do things and so on. And I think we really need to concentrate on that. Our community really was split up a lot from the 2012-2014 drama. And if you don't know anything about it, wonderful. Don't ever learn about it. But it really split us up. And I think we've had to regrow our community since then. And conferences like SciCon are so important to being able to refuel. Even if it is feel like we're speaking to the choir, it's important that they understand that even the people like myself who are into this need to have be rekindled, we need to be rekindled. You know, you gotta kick the embers and get us going again. So I can't stress how important it is to meet up in person and to really put your hand up and say, hey, I want to help you out. I want to do something, and to do it and follow through on it. But back in, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Back in 2003, I think it was, there was a woman and several women actually who were abducted, and in Ohio, and they were held captive in a house in Ohio. And a psychic named Sylvia Brown appeared on a TV show. It was very popular, called Montel Williams. And they would bring in people often who would, the mothers or family members, and Sylvia would give them a reading about their person that was missing. And she made a lot of mistakes, Sylvia Brown, over the years. And you can read about a lot of them in Skeptical Inquirer, because those were chronicled. What happened was that Sylvia Brown had this mother on, and when the mother asked her if her daughter was alive, Sylvia Brown said that, no, your daughter's not alive. I think she said she's in water or something like that, and that she's dead now. Now the person, this daughter, she was watching Sylvia Brown on TV, and Sylvia Brown was speaking to her. She felt like, oh, my mom's going to be able to know I'm alive because Sylvia Brown's going to tell her I'm alive. And she didn't. She told her mom was dead, and the mother died a year later. So this woman, whose name is Amanda Berry, she eventually was able to break out of the house in Ohio with her now child that she had, and 2 other women who had also been held captive for over 10 years. So when she broke free and it hit the media that this woman was released and they'd been held in captivity for, I think, 12 years, some of them, the video of Sylvia Brown surfaced of her telling this mother that her daughter had died. And Sylvia Brown started making excuses saying, oh, I got her confused with other people, or only God is right all the time, and so on. But the backlash by the average person was intense. There was, and I went back and re-looked this up. There was this moment when her Twitter and her Facebook page had to go down because there was so much hate and vitriol to Sylvia Brown from just the average person. They were inflamed with her telling this woman that her mother was, telling the mother that her daughter died, and then the mother dies and the daughter's still stuck in this house and not telling her any of that. It was just enormous. So what happened is, in our community, the skeptic community, and it's funny, I guess Barry Carr's here. I feel his presence here today. So Barry Carr and I were talking about this and chit-chatting about, this is a moment. This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. The world is so upset. I mean, the media, NBC, ABC, USA Today, they were all like jumping on this Sylvia Brown character and bringing up this clip. And like I said, people were just dumping on Sylvia Brown. So Barry and I were thinking about, what are we going to do? We've got to do something. This is our moment. Because, of course, people are going to forget about it and move on. And we said, this is it. So we grabbed all the different places that Sylvia Brown was going to be speaking at, all the different venues, because she was going to be doing her talks at casinos, is where she mainly did her talk, her readings. So she was going to be at these casinos, and we were going to have everybody just write to those casinos and get those events canceled. Shame the casinos, shame whoever, do whatever we can to get those things canceled. So that was our moment. We had like 2 days, a window, just a very brief window. And what happened was, in our community, and I don't even remember why, but there were 2 people in our community. I'm not even going to name them. They're nobody you hear about anymore. They were arguing amongst themselves, 2 men. And they're fighting. He said this, he said that, he said this, he said that. And I don't even remember, like I said, but they were just going at each other. And you could see Facebook and the different social medias just going crazy. Oh my gosh, did you see what so-and-so said? Oh my gosh, here's what I think. And they went nuts. In the meantime, it just quieted down and everything went away. And Sylvia Brown was able to put her Facebook page and her Twitter account back up, because we were so distracted with the drama that was happening that, like I say, who cares about now? But Sylvia Brown was able to just, and she lived another day. Well, she lived about another few years. But the point is that we can't be distracted. We need to be focused, not on the trolls, not on just that nonsense you see on your social media, but think about the limited amount of time you have, and to make it count. Think about that. Think about, what can I do? How can I help? How can I do something that's going to make some difference someday? And we do it. And if we had stayed collective, and I hope now that when something happens, that a moment is there and we can seize on it again, that we'll be able to seize on that and maybe really make a serious, huge difference. Something much bigger than just the small things that we're able to do, but maybe a bigger thing can happen to that. So anyway, that's my little rant. I'm so happy to see you all. I can't see you, but I know you're here because I can feel your collective energy. Just it's fueling me. I can feel it. And I apologize to Brian Denning for using the word energy incorrectly. So, Paul, are you back?
Susan, thank you so much.
I hope that was cat herding enough for you all.
That is very cat herding. We've got a whole bunch of questions, and I want to at least get to a few of them before we wrap up.
You guys can ask me later if you want.
You make yourself very available, which is great. It's funny, you know, the two kind of big pillars of work that you're talking about here, the psychic stings, the Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia. I mean, we could easily be doing several sessions on each of these, and there's so much material to cover. And it makes me think of something that you've written about this before in some of your articles about how the problems that organized skepticism is trying to solve are so overwhelming, especially now. You know, I mean, I don't think it's ever been more apparent the necessity of the skeptics movement than it is right now. But I'm trying to find this quote that you had said a long time ago. You said, we're fighting against unsurmountable and unsinkable rubber ducks, which was just a great line. But before we kind of get into the specific questions, like, how do you decide amongst all the big problems that the organized skepticism could be tackling, misinformation, conspiracy theories, paranormal? How are you deciding what your angle of attack is, whether it's going to be the Wikipedia articles or the psychic stings? Like, how did you come to find those focuses?
I think the quote was actually from James Randi, but I'm happy to give it to me. That's fine. But I'm only kidding. How do I find the topic are you talking about, or the? Well,
how do you choose your targets, put it that way? Because there are so many things that you could be choosing to do. And, you know, and we can only have so much of an effect, like you were just saying, like even getting easily distracted on potentially having that minor effect of maybe getting that one psychic shut down for a brief time.
So you go with what is passionate to you. So this happens on Wikipedia too, where people say, well, you need a to-do list of all the pages that need to be. No, I don't want no to-do list. I want people to enjoy themselves and find things that they enjoy. So psychics just kind of fell into my lap as one of my favorite things. I was on the forum, the James Randi Educational Forum years ago, back before Facebook, you guys. And I met a man named Robert Lancaster, who kind of showed us the way of how to really have the most impact with psychics. And so I just kind of fell into it. And then of course I met up with Mark Edward, who's an expert on psychics. And then that was just where it was. But I could have just as easily picked UFOs or crystal healing or something else. You want to pick the thing that hits home to you or you feel a passion for. So I don't think there should be a to-do list. I think you should pick whatever is your favorite.
Pick whatever your passion is. Yeah. And speaking of which, of the psychics, we have a few questions about the psychic stings and whatnot, and they kind of circle on this one theme. So I'm going to try to collect.
Is it right turns only? Is it circling in a giant circle?
Well, yeah, it's like you're driving around Boston. So you have interacted a little bit with the targets of some of your stings. I know that you've interacted with Thomas John a little bit, or at least he's hinted at interactions with you. And so we have a few different questions here. Like, for example, Nirav in the chat was asking, do you get sued or threatened with suits? And you mentioned a little bit of that before. And how do you deal with those? Like with the Jeanette Wilson video was one of the examples there. And there was another question along those lines, and I don't know that I can find it now. But yeah, so those interactions that you've had with the targets of your stings, they know you've got them. What have those been like, and have you had to face any kind of scary consequences as a result of that?
Well, they're not psychic, so obviously they didn't see I was coming, but
they never do.
They never seem to. All the articles I write for Skeptical Inquirer have to go through some sort of somebody checks them out. A lawyer will check them out, make sure that I'm not saying anything that isn't true. We can use the word grief vampire, just like Penn and Teller were able to use foul language when they were talking about psychics or con people. They couldn't use words like con or fraud or anything like that, but they could call them effing this or effing that. Mm-hmm. So there's ways of going around that. Also, like with the New York Times, if somebody was going to sue me, they'd have to sue the New York Times. So, I mean, that's unlikely to happen. I think that a lot of them really don't want to draw attention to themselves. Can you imagine having a court case with with somebody like Susan Gerbic, they would have to prove that they can speak to the dead. That would bring it on. But Thomas John and some of the others, they have histories they don't want public. And so like when Thomas John will go on his Facebook Live, he's tried this before where he said, there's this woman and she's just this cat freak and she just pretends to have dead children so she can sting people. And he's done this. And what happens is the vitriol towards me happens, but he doesn't name my name. And so what somebody in the comment section will list, oh, that must be that Susan Gerbic person. And then people will pile on with articles I've written about him and say, this woman. And so it just brings more attention to what has critically been written about him. And then I start getting private messages from people saying, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. Thank you for opening my eyes. So they don't want to mention you. They don't want their past histories to show up. So I think that, you got to know where your boundaries are, I think is very important. So far, so good.
Yeah. And speaking of knowing where the boundaries are, one of the first questions we got in from Scott Romanowski asked, how difficult is it to infiltrate a Grief Vampires event? Because you have actually gone, I think, to Thomas John events and posing as, someone who wants a psychic reading. Folks should really look these articles up because Susan goes into great detail. But I mean, can you just give us a glimmer of what goes into actually being there in person to try to pull one of these off?
Hi, Scott, by the way. We love Scott. So very quickly, if it's a large group, 300 or more people, you just blend in and nobody's going to even notice you're there. You're on Zoom. They're all over. Okay. You just keep your video off and your sound off or whatever you want to do. When it comes to the Operation Onion Ring, which I highly recommend anybody read that will have that question answered. There's only 8 people on the screen. Thomas John's on the screen and I'm on the screen. So I have to get in somehow. And how I got in, I think you got to read the article to see, but because that would be the 10th person on the, I can't hide. Right. But I was there. And so we're all my team. We're watching as well. But when you get your ticket, you have to make sure you're not buying your ticket with your personal Visa card or your credit card. You have to use a fake credit card from like a gift card, this kind of thing. You can't use anything that's going to go back to you because they look you up. And a name like Scott Romanowski, yeah, they'll know who you know.
you have to put on a performance too, right? And one of the interesting things about what you've written about it is that in order for the experiment essentially to be valid, you have to go in really not knowing that much about the character you've invented.
You have to double blind it.
Yeah, how did you pull that off?
Well, with the Operation Pizza Roll. With Pizza Roll.
I don't know how you keep those straight, by the way.
I say them all wrong all the time.
Okay.
But Operation Pizza Roll, Operation Pizza Roll, there were fake Facebook pages made for the characters Mark and I played. I was Susanna Forsyth Wilson and he was Mark Wilson. And we attended, but the Facebook pages were created outside of we had no control over what was on the pages. We didn't know what was on the pages. And when we were going to attend in person, we were given a little synopsis, like I knew I had a twin brother, because at some point when the psychic's on the stage, he's going to say, I'm getting a twin brother named Andy who wants to reach out to his sister. I have to have the cue of knowing to raise my hand. That's me. So I have to have some knowledge, but beyond that, I don't know what's going on. So with the Operation Pizza Roll with Thomas John, Mark Edward and I were sitting there pretending to cry and agreeing to anything he said, even though we had no idea what he was talking about. Who's Buddy? And we're like, Buddy, isn't that your brother? And he's like, yeah. And Thomas John on the stage is going, it's your dog. How do you not know that it's your dog? And
is that scary though, to go like you're going into the lion's den? I mean, it's Thomas John, he's not a lion, but you know what I'm saying. Like but you're going there in person. That seems like you're taking a little bit of a risk there.
What are they going to do to you?
Mark's off stage is saying, what would they do to you?
What would they do to you?
He says it's fine. And he's a performance artist, so he's okay.
That's fine.
You have to stay in character the whole time. the whole time because we get VIP passes. You go afterwards and you meet them, and yeah, you just have to stay confused and just if all else fails, you just cry. You get a Kleenex and you cry and you just say, "My mom was here for me," or whatever, and you just fake
I
it.
can do that.
No,
That sounds like fun. I should do
it really is a lot of fun. I don't think it's for everybody, but it was intense. And as it was happening, when Thomas John started reading these Facebook pages of ours, and I and he ended and he stopped, and I was texting my team. I'm like, do I have a brother named this? And what was this? And they're like, yeah, that's your brother. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got him. I was just trying not to laugh. It was like, we got him. I can't believe we got him. It was so easy.
We're at 8 o'clock, so I just want to do a couple quick short ones
Sure.
just to wrap things up. I think this is an important one related to the Wikipedia work. First of all, Daniel Graves wants to know, how can I sign up to be a Guerrilla Skeptic? How does one do that, Susan?
Well, you would go to my Facebook page and you would friend me. It's always good because you have to be in the Facebook private secret cabal. So you're going to have a Wikipedia account. I need to have your email. Send me a private message. You can go to our website, abouttimeproject.org, and look at the Wikipedia, how it is. It takes months to train, and it is hands-on. So I force you to do a pre-training exercise. It takes about 2 hours. And then when you do your pre-training exercise, then you will know if this is probably the project for you, or if, my sense of humor is just really weird, or you don't want to, because I'm not exactly a, professional kind of personality. I'm kind of a little odd. Some people
you should know there's a lot of folks in here who are just praising you and saying how great your work is. So that there's a lot of those comments going
I
through.
appreciate that, you guys.
Pamela Coslin actually says, hi, Susan, a long time ago, you helped me edit the original Reason Rally wiki entry that got hijacked by the Jesus crowd.
Gosh, I
And
was
she
just
says,
reading that article I wrote about
good.
that. I have an article about that and talks about it. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Well, she
Hi,
wants you
how
to
you
know.
doing, Pamela?
She wants you to know, she says, I'm a lawyer. If you ever need a response to a threatening legal letter, I'd be happy to
Please
help.
PM your information. Yeah,
Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. And there's some other questions about what kind of articles, have any of the articles that you've worked on been challenged? I think you said that none of them got cut. Is that right? Or
We've had some deleted. I made a lot of
Had some
mistakes when I
deleted?
first started. And, learning how to edit Wikipedia is really difficult if you're just going at it on your own, unless you're a person who's a coder and you know how to do all that kind of stuff. But it's a different world. There's a different language. They use jargon. And how do you know how much to put, how much not to put, stuff like that. But yeah, our stuff is challenged. And usually it's challenged by legitimate, great Wikipedia editors who know their stuff. And it's the rules are kind of like ambiguous a little bit. How much should you put? Is that too much? Is it too flattering? Is it not? Is it too harsh? And so it gets cut down all the time. The paranormal community will try to do stuff, and it's almost always reverted within seconds. So we really have no trouble with the paranormal world. They're not good at following rules. They're not good at following evidence and understanding what a reliable source is. They put a lot of opinion, and then it's all taken out. And it's usually stuff we don't have anything to do with, because we write a page, usually we walk away from it and go to something else. So we're not really too concerned about it. But yeah, some of our stuff has been pulled down, and probably legitimately so.
Okay, well, we're out of time now, so I'm just going to say thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. There is, like I said, I'm sure that we could listen to you for another couple of hours and learn a lot. Congratulations on the very much overdue 2019.
I'm really
Wallace
impressed.
Prize.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, well, we're pretty impressed ourselves.
And trivia is in a couple hours, so if anybody wants to join us.
Perfect. You know where to go find Susan Gerbic online. If you missed today, you want to watch it again, you want to relive these moments over and over again, the video will go up tomorrow at skepticalinquirer.org, also at centerforinquiry.org/video. It'll be there. Next time, Leanne will be back, February 17th. We will have scientist, clean energy entrepreneur, and U.S. Representative from Illinois, Sean Casten, in a talk I think he's titling, and I think this is correct, FERC and FERCalicious. I'm just going to let you simmer on that for a bit. The mind reels. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Mark Kreidler, for your tech help, and we will see you again in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.